Wonderful. Well, it's great to be here, everyone. And again, my name is Bob Shaw. I'm the president and CEO of NetOptics. And I met a number of customers, a number of partners before the session began. The other thing I'd like to give you a snapshot on is the set of customers that we work with around the globe and their household names. In the world of telco, it's the Verizons, the AT&Ts, the Vodafones, the Vivos in Latin America, VimpelCom in Russia. It's also the large financial networks. It's the names like American Express. It's the New York Stock Exchange, the Brazilian Stock Exchange. It's Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley, Barclays. The reason I mention all of these is the data and the networks for all of these organizations are critical, along with all of the government agencies that we work with to make sure that they're architecting visibility into their network. And today's a very special day, very important for me to be in Israel. One, I love events like this because this is what changes an industry. This is what makes an impact. The other thing that's very important is we will announce in Q3 that as we expand our business, we're going to open up an R&D center. I like to call it a center of excellence in Israel. And with this, we're very excited. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to bring you a snapshot of Eldad Matatyahu, the founder and the chairman of the company. Eldad grew up in Israel, and he has Israel, he has this in his blood. And he moved to California with the family. He started NetOptics in 1996. I've run the company with Eldad for the last 12 years. We've been very blessed. We've grown the business 64 quarters in a row. We've been profitable, grown with no VC funding, no early or late staged investment. And one of the things that we've focused on as we've grown this business is excellence, look at the world through the eyes of the customer, and deliver innovation that changes an industry forever. And as we continue to move forward, what we want to do is balance what we've built in the United States, in the Valley, with now the startup nation in Israel. And the two combined, we'll be able to achieve anything. Here's a statistic. You're going to hear a lot of data today. One of the things I want you to remember is from the time I walked on this stage until I leave, 15 minutes, there will be 10,000 records, customer data, that will be compromised around the world. Now, you look at that data and you either say, hey, that's about what the number is because crazy stuff's going on. It's bigger than what I thought, or I actually thought it would be bigger. I don't want you to remember this number. What I want you to remember is the one that comes after it, because there's something really wrong with this statistic. Out of those 10,000, 9,500 records, or 95% of those records will be stolen, hacked into, and taken, and they'll be undetected by the organization that they're taken from. Now think about that for a second. An organization, whether it be a government agency, a telco, a financial organization, it may be some of your data is going to be extracted from a network, and the network it's taken from won't even know that's the case. We have to fix that, and I'll show you how we can do it. You know, if you go to trade shows around the world, there's so many great tools out there in the marketplace. And as a result, we often think of ourselves as saying, you know what, isn't this really pretty simple? You buy a great tool, whether it be a security tool, malware, software, appliances, you really should be able to put it in the network, turn it on, let it do what you paid it to do, and go to sleep, and let the tool work. Well, we all know it's a little more complicated than that. And it's complicated if you think about it for a couple reasons. One of the best parts of my job is I get to travel all around the world, and I sit in boardrooms and offices, typically the office of the CIO or the CTO or the CEO. And what I wanted to bring you today was some real facts of what's going on in these meetings. Whether it's a government agency, whether it's a telco, whether it's a financial organization, I happen to think that they all share the same challenge. And what they're trying to do is get visibility into the network. It's the missing ingredient. I frankly don't hear folks talk about what visibility do we have throughout the network as often as I think we need to. And we happen to think that the missing ingredient is how do you have insight, how do you have visibility, how can you be proactive by knowing what's going on in the network? Well, there's some challenges. Here's one. Think about how a network is actually designed. It's complicated. You have a data center, you have remote branches, everything's now in some ways starting to move to the cloud and virtualization. So you almost have these stacks. In addition to that, everybody that you meet that's involved in networking has a business card. And if you look on the business card, there's a whole bunch of titles. Somebody's responsible for security, somebody's responsible for some compliance, somebody else may be responsible for applications, somebody else the database. And if you start to ask them how they're sharing information across the organization, once they agree that they need visibility in the core part of the network, then I'll sometimes have a conversation with them and say, how do we transfer that solution, that visibility, now to the cloud? And what I often hear is, it's a different team. We have a different group of folks that are responsible for the cloud and virtualization. What we're emphasizing and what's starting to catch on as a very important trend is you need a group of people that are actually responsible for visibility and making sure it's architected into the network across all of the disciplines, from the remote branches to the data centers to the core part of the network to the cloud and virtualization. Because then when you have that, you have the ability to be proactive and anticipate and move away from being reactionary. Let me build on this. Here's another trend. I've been very bold in saying that the networks that are most likely to be attacked are those that are running at fastest speeds. Here's what I mean. Networks are moving from gigabit to 10 gig, soon to be 40 gig, and in many cases the telcos have already rolled out 80 or 100 gigabit network speeds. Let's think for one moment. You now have a network that's running at 40 gigabits or 80 gig. You have to go buy security tools. The best security tool you can buy in the market today, when you load it up with all the rules, will run at 10 gig. Some are getting very close to running at 20 gigabits. So now I have a 40 and 80 and 100 gig network, and I've got to go put tools in there. I've got this balance. I've got to secure the network, but for my customers, I need to make sure it's performing well. So I need to have the performance. How do I balance those two? There's a set of tools that are becoming available now called access switches. It's different than a switch and router, but it sits between those two, and it solves a very, very big pain point. It allows you to take data that's running at 40 and 80 gig, and you're able to collect all of that data from various parts of the network, and you can balance sending it across tools that can't run at the speed of the network. So you're now able to take 3 or 4 tools and together have them look at the traffic in the high-speed networks. So now you've not only created visibility, you now have access, and you're able to perform security tasks in real time. This isn't just a dream. This particular solution, bundled with one of the leading security companies in the world, just received the Best of Show solution at Interop 4 weeks ago. And it was determined as the only solution in the world right now that is a bundle. It's in a rack. You can take it and you can install it in your network. And you can look at 80 gigabits of traffic in real time at every single packet and determine if there's anything that is a risk in the network. We're excited because we were the company that created the device. It's OEM'd. It has the other company's name on it, but it was manufactured in our facility in California. It's shipped all around the world. It's a game-changing technology. Here's the other area that I want you to think about. We've crossed the chasm. As of the end of last year, there were more virtual servers that were installed in the network than physical servers. The cloud and virtualization, as we all know, is here to stay. Let me tell you one of the biggest risks, and I would encourage you to ask folks in your organization about this. How are they able to have visibility and see what is happening as traffic moves across the inner VM traffic? So as it moves from virtual machine to virtual machine, you're absolutely blind to what's happening. You can see it in the first virtual server, and you can see it in the last. But as it moves across different geographic locations and it moves from server to server, you're blind, you can't see it. And so we invented a piece of software that actually sits at the kernel level. Pick whatever solution you want, KVM, Hyper-V, the ESX servers from VMware, but now you have ability to look at all of the traffic in your cloud and virtualized world, and you're able, now think about this, you're able to pull that virtualized traffic in and view it using your physical tools. You also now have visibility not only across your virtual world, but your data centers and out into the remote branches. Very, very critical for success. So the real key is making sure that you don't have any blind spots. You actually have created an architecture that allows you to have this complete visibility wherever you want it at any given time, and it will enable you to take the tools that you've invested in to get an ROI. You can scale them, and you also don't dramatically have to change the investment strategy you had, because you can actually use tools you've already invested in to look at parts of the network that you previously couldn't. Here's a little drill down on some of that data, and you can see that this is 2012 statistics. And if you look at those two bottom graphs, you can see that in this day and age, the statistics are that 94 to 95% of all security breaches are reported by someone outside the organization that it was taken from. What I thought I'd do now is show you a very quick video from a gentleman that's been involved in the world of security his whole life around the globe. He also ran all of the networks for General Electric in the office of the CIO, and how they thought about, from GE's standpoint, security. Okay, we won't watch that. But his name is Richard Baitlick, and one of the things that Richard talks about is when it came to GE, when it ends up coming to various branches of the government, and the way they think about visibility, one of the most critical points is making sure that they can be very proactive and they're able to anticipate what it is they need to do at any given moment. So if they have to give an incident report, they have the information in front of them and they can be very proactive. The final thought that I would like to leave you with is, you think about overall architecture of the network, is how you end up thinking about this diagram. At the bottom, you've got your network, however you want to design it, and really it becomes whatever switches, routers you want to use. Every network's going to be different. You're really focused on one critical goal, and that is to make sure that you have visibility across the network. There's a whole series of products that we've architected, that we have shipped all over the world, that allows you, like those access switches, to take that data, channel it to whatever tools that you want, because you cannot afford to have any part of the network as you go forward that you don't have visibility into. And so you're able to take traffic that's gigabit all the way up to 100 gig and use the tools that you've invested in to see that. What I would really like you to think about as we wrap up is, you really can't afford to have any blind spots as you go forward. There is technology available that will help you eliminate those. And it comes down to the way that you think about, on a daily basis, making sure as you build the next wave of the network, you've got a group of people that are always asking the question, where's the visibility and how do we get access to the data? I'm going to be around throughout the day. I also have, who's based here now as we continue to grow, the VP of Technology for us, Sharon Besser. I also have Shlomo Garfinkel, who is our Vice President of Engineering. Both of those hotshots live and work out of Israel, and they will help us build and launch our R&D Center of Excellence. Thank you very much.